Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really glad you're here with us today.
We are.
We are looking at something today that is, well, it's ubiquitous. It is so saturated in our modern visual culture that I think a lot of us have stopped, effectively seeing it.
Right. You see the colors, but you don't see the meaning.
Exactly. You see the bumper stickers, the flags on porches, the lapel pins, the corporate logos that change their color palette for 30 days every June. We are, of course, talking about the rainbow flag.
It's arguably one of the most instantly recognizable symbols on Earth right now. I mean, it's
Yeah,
up there with the peace sign or the recycling logo.
it is. But, and this is why we're doing this deep dive, most of us, myself included, until I read this research, have a very surface level idea of what it's actually saying. We see it as a label, a demarcation. You see it and you think, okay, safe space, or I support this group. But we've been reading through this fascinating piece of research called The Universal Spectrum, Human Rights and the Rainbow Flag, and the argument it makes is, well, it's radically different.
It really flips the script on the common narrative, doesn't it?
It does.
The core premise we're looking at is that the rainbow flag isn't just some checklist of modern identities. It's not just about who you sleep with or your pronouns. The source material argues this symbol is actually a much broader, much more ancient assertion of, well, of universal human rights.
It moves the conversation from identity politics to, I don't know, human philosophy, which is a pretty heavy lift for a piece of nylon.
It is. And we aren't just going to recite dates and protest history today. That's been done. The source makes the case that the rainbow wasn't a new invention of meaning in the 1970s.
No.
It was an intentional adoption, an appropriation, really, in the best sense of the word, of a symbol that has meant hope and peace across, thousands of years in almost every culture.
Okay, so here is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack this in 3 layers. First, we need to decode the palette, the 6 stripes. But not just as graphic design. We're going to look at them as specific claims to human rights.
And that part is vital because, as we'll see, it creates a kind of hierarchy of needs that applies to everyone, not just one community. It's almost Maslow-esque.
Right. Then, and this is the part that I was texting you about because I went down a complete rabbit hole, we're going to pivot to the physics, the actual optics of how a rainbow works.
Oh, this part is fantastic.
Refraction, angles, water droplets. Because hidden inside the hard science is a philosophical metaphor about individuality that, frankly, it blew my mind.
It connects optics to ethics.
Yeah.
That, for me, was the absolute aha moment of the research.
And finally, we'll bring it all back. How the movement used these huge universal concepts to advocate for, well, for humanity as a whole. So forget what you think you know. We are decoding the rainbow.
Let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with the basics, the stripes. You look at the standard flag today, you see 6 distinct bands of color. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Usually we just process that as a spectrum. It looks nice, it's balanced. But the source material is adamant that we stop seeing these as decorative. It calls each color a demand.
A demand, or a claim. The text explicitly says that when the colors were assigned meanings, they were establishing a fundamental aspect of humanity. But here's the key distinction the author makes. They frame them as rights. These are things that belong to the human animal by default.
So let's walk through these one by one because they really do form a sort of ladder. They start physical and then move upward.
Yeah.
Let's start at the top. Red. The source says red represents life.
Right. And let's not just gloss over that. In the context of the late 70s, and certainly in human history, asserting a right to life is the baseline. Red is blood. It's the pulse.
It's primal, the most urgent color.
It is. It's the very basic assertion that I am here, I am alive, and my life has value. If you look at any human rights charter, the right to life is always number 1. You can't have liberty if you're dead.
So red establishes existence. Okay. Then we move down to orange. The source lists this as the right to healing.
Healing and well-being. I love this one because it implies a vulnerability. It acknowledges that being human involves being broken sometimes. We get sick, we get hurt, we suffer trauma, whether that's a physical injury or societal rejection.
So the right to healing isn't just about, having a doctor. It's a demand for a society that cares for its members.
Precisely. It's about well-being. It's saying that part of the universal human contract is that when we're down, we have a right to recover. It moves beyond just survival, which is red, and into health, which is orange.
Which brings us to yellow. The source defines this as the right to sunlight. And I have to admit, when I first read that, it sounded a little flowery.
I get that. It does sound poetic.
The right to sunlight, I thought, okay, are we talking about gardening? But the context the source provides is much heavier.
It is. Think about the metaphors we use for oppression. We talk about being in the shadows, living in the dark or the closet. Sunlight is the opposite of that. It's illumination. It's visibility.
So the right to sunlight is really the right to truth, to live openly.
Yes, and the source links this directly to joy. It argues that joy isn't a frivolous extra. I mean, the pursuit of happiness is a core tenet of human dignity. For anyone who's been forced to hide, the right to sunlight is the right to step out without fear.
I love that progression. Red is the body, orange is health, yellow is the social self stepping into the light. Now we hit green, the right to nature.
And this grounds us again. We are biological creatures. The source argues this represents our connection to the natural world, but also the idea of growth.
Growth in what sense?
Well, in the evolutionary sense, you aren't stagnant. Humans change, they learn. But there's another layer here the source brings up. Historically, marginalized groups are often accused of being unnatural.
Oh, right, the old crimes against nature statute.
Exactly. By claiming nature, the flag is explicitly refuting that. It's saying we are part of the natural order. Diversity is natural. We grow. It reclaims the planet as home.
Moving to the cool colors now. Blue. The right to harmony.
Harmony and peace. And we should distinguish this from just silence. Peace isn't just the absence of shouting. In this framework, harmony implies a dynamic balance.
Like in music.
Exactly. Harmony isn't one note. It's multiple different notes coexisting to make a chord.
It sounds almost civic, like this is the political stripe.
In a way, yes. It's the demand for a society where you can live without constant conflict. It's the art of living together. If red is the individual body, blue is the collective body working in sync.
And finally, the bottom stripe. Violet. The source defines this as the right to spirit.
This is the capstone. If red is the blood, violet is the soul. It's that intangible quality. It's dignity. It's the assertion that regardless of who you are or who you love, you possess a unique spark that deserves respect.
Your internal validity.
Exactly. And just look at the journey we took from red, the body, all the way to violet, the spirit.
So when you step back and look at the flag now, you're not just seeing a rainbow. You're seeing a manifesto. Life, healing, sunlight, nature, harmony, spirit. It covers the whole human experience.
It's a hierarchy of human needs expressed in color. And the big takeaway from this section is that these values are elemental. Sunlight, nature, life. These aren't political opinions. By linking the flag to these concepts, the movement wasn't asking for special rights.
They were demanding recognition of universal rights.
It effectively says, we are human, and therefore we claim the full inheritance of humanity. It's an argument for inclusion, using the most universal symbols available.
Okay, so that's the semiotics. But the source material takes a hard left turn here, or maybe a hard right turn into a physics classroom. And honestly, this is where the deep dive really earns its name.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yes, the optics. I mean, I know how a rainbow works in theory, rain, sun, pretty colors. But the source breaks down the specific mechanism, and it creates a philosophical implication I had never considered.
It starts with a fact that seems obvious, but is actually pretty profound. A rainbow is not a thing.
Right. It's not an object.
It's not a fixed physical thing floating in the sky. You can't fly a plane through it. You can't walk under it. It's an optical phenomenon. It's an event.
It's an interaction.
Correct. A relationship between three things. The light source, the water droplets, and the observer.
Yeah.
You are. And that the source highlights a detail here that is scientifically true but sounds like poetry. No two people ever see the exact same rainbow.
Okay, wait, let's unpack that because that sounds impossible. If you and I are standing on a hill looking at a storm, aren't we pointing at the same arc?
We are pointing at the same phenomenon, but we are not seeing the same arc.
How does the physics of that even work?
It's all about the geometry of refraction. To see the rainbow, light has to hit a water droplet, bounce off the back, and return to your eye at a very specific angle, about 42 degrees.
Okay, 42 degrees, the magic number.
Right. So the specific droplets that are at a 42-degree angle to my eye are not the same droplets that are at a 42-degree angle to your eye, even if you're standing right next to me.
Because my eyes are in a different coordinate in space.
Exactly. The light is bouncing off a completely different set of raindrops to reach you. You are seeing your rainbow, I am seeing mine.
That is wild. So the rainbow is personal. It's like a hologram for an audience of one.
It is strictly personal. It's centered on you, the observer. If you move, the rainbow moves with you. If you close your eyes, that specific rainbow ceases to exist.
So the source uses the scientific fact to build this incredible metaphor for what it calls individuality within unity.
Yes, the paradox of unity and difference. And think about how perfect that is for a human rights symbol. The rainbow is a shared phenomenon. We all gather and say, look at that beautiful rainbow.
But my view of it is mathematically unique to me.
Exactly. Every human life is a unique perspective. Your history, your biology, your joy, it creates a unique arc. That's the individual. But, and here's the paradox, despite everyone seeing it differently, we are all part of the same spectrum.
So the flag isn't just saying we are all the same, and it's not saying we are all totally separate, it's saying both.
It's saying both can be true at once. Unity doesn't erase individuality. You don't have to stop being you to be part of us. You need the distinct red, the distinct blue, the distinct green to create the spectrum.
That is so deep. It really pushes back on the idea that diversity creates division. The argument here is that humanity requires those differences to exist in its full form.
Right. The source calls this the spiritual depth. Each perspective contributes to the fullness and richness of the experience. If you remove the blue, it's not a rainbow anymore. It's broken.
It's amazing how a simple trick of light and water can hold that much philosophical weight.
And that leads us perfectly into why the Pride movement chose this specific symbol. They didn't choose a lion or a star. They chose the spectrum.
Right, let's move to that. Connecting this back to the streets, the parades, the source talks about pride and the appropriation of the rainbow, and usually appropriation is a bad word.
It can be, but here they use it as a strategic positive. It means they appropriated or adopted the universal symbolism intentionally.
A strategic choice.
It was. Gilbert Baker and the early activists didn't want a symbol that was exclusive or secret. They didn't want an in-group handshake.
They wanted something that couldn't be ignored.
And something that was undeniably universal. They wanted to say, we belong to the main club. The source argues the flag is not a checklist of identities.
Right, it can get visually cluttered sometimes when people try that.
But the original intent, according to this text, was that the rainbow represents the entirety of the spectrum. It's a container for everything. It's infinite.
So it's a declaration that the rights of LGBT people are inseparable from the rights of all humanity.
Exactly. It returns to those values we discussed. Life, healing, joy. The argument is, I deserve these things not because I am gay or trans or queer. I deserve these things because I am human. And here is the symbol of universal humanity to prove it.
It's a way of grounding the argument in something undeniable. You can debate laws or politics.
Yeah.
You can't really debate that a rainbow is beautiful and includes every color.
And that leads to the concept of active versus passive symbolism. The source says the flag is an active assertion. It's not just a decoration.
A claim to what, specifically?
A claim to the family. The text says it visualizes that differences are not divisions, but expressions of the same human family. It reframes equality. We often hear arguments that frame it as special treatment, the scarcity mindset.
Right, the idea that rights are a pie, and if you get a slice, I get less.
Exactly, the scarcity mindset. But the rainbow metaphor just destroys that pie analogy. A rainbow isn't a finite pie, it's light. My seeing the rainbow doesn't stop you from seeing it.
That's a powerful rebuttal. It implies my rights don't detract from yours, they just exist on a different arc.
And the source argues that the fight for equality is about fulfilling the promise of universal human dignity. It's not about special rights. It's about accessing the foundational rights, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, that everyone is supposed to have.
It really changes how I see the flag now. It's less of a team jersey.
Yeah.
And more of a constitution.
A visual constitution. That's a great way to put it. A flag that doesn't represent a nation state, but a state of being.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the specific meanings of the colors red for life, violet for spirit. We realized it's a ladder of human needs.
And then we went into the physics.
Right. The mind-bending physics that a rainbow is this unique subjective experience for every single observer.
Individuality within unity.
And finally, we looked at how that metaphor anchors the entire fight for human rights. It's a journey from the particular to the universal.
And that's the so what here, isn't it? We live in a world that loves to categorize and divide, but the rainbow challenges us to see that our unique perspectives, our specific arcs, are valid, but they're part of a larger shared light.
It challenges us to look closer. The next time I see that flag, I'm not just going to think LGBT-friendly space.
Yeah.
I'm going to see right to sunlight, right to harmony.
And if we go back to that physics point one last time, it raises a really provocative final thought for you to walk away with.
What's that?
Well, remember, the source says the rainbow requires the observer. It doesn't exist without someone there to witness it. It's relational.
Okay. I think I see where you're going with this.
So if we apply that to human rights, perhaps rights work the same way. Maybe they aren't just static laws on paper. Maybe they only become real when we actively witness and recognize them in one another.
Whoa, that puts the responsibility on us.
It does. Just like the rainbow needs an observer to exist, maybe my dignity only becomes real when you recognize it. And your safety only becomes real when I protect it. It requires that active witnessing. Without the observer, there is no rainbow.
Without the witness, there is no justice.
Exactly.
That's something I'm going to be thinking about for a while. The idea that we have to manifest the rainbow for each other.
It's not passive, it's active. You have to look up to see it.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for listening to this deep dive. I hope next time you see those 6 colors, you don't just see a flag. You see the physics, the philosophy, and the promise behind it.
It was a pleasure. Keep looking for the light.
See you next time.